Hi, this is Abe with me. That ain't even tells like a TI is. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribe. Topic I'm going to talk to you today about is Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 16, episode 2, Hot Dogs and Hot Mics. That was the title. It started off where it left off the last episode where there was in Shamia's private room, and Shamia was asking Porsha if she dated Dennis. I mean, not Dennis, asking Drew, did she date Dennis? And Drew said, no, I'm not dating Dennis. We're just working together. And she said, did you tell Portia? She said, yeah, I told Portia. I text Portia and told Portia, and Portia said she's real busy the first time. The second time, me and Portia were supposed to meet up. Portia didn't show up. She canceled. And then so in her confessional, Kelly said, is you dating Dennis or what? Come on, girl. We want to know. We want to know the information. We want to know the information. And then so Drew said, Portia said, you are a low down, dirty individual. She said, huh? What? What are you talking about? She said, you ain't told me nothing. You keep talking about you told me something. You ain't told me nothing. And then uh, and then she said, producers, can I break the fourth wall? Break the fourth wall? She said, yeah. She said, you ain't tell me nothing. I found out from Dennis. I found out from Dennis. She said, I have all these text message. And she showed text messages around everybody. And then Kelly said, I see a text message from Dennis. She said, but don't you see that's a long chat thread? That's a long chat thread and stuff like that. And then uh and then and then uh, 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 um, Portia said in her confession that was wrong of you to try to set up a photo shoot. And also that was wrong of her to try to work with her baby dad and try to do stuff that behind our back. And like I said on the other review that I did on my last video, I said Portia was just mad because her storyline got messed up because her and Simon was getting divorced and stuff like that. And then switch to the next scene where Portia got out of her rose water. She was driving to the restaurant to meet Kenya. And her and Kenya greet each other and they hug each other and stuff like that. And Portia said, how you doing, Kenya? Kenya said, I'm doing all right. I'm doing great. And then Kenya said, well, how are you doing, Portia? And Portia said, I'm doing okay for right now. And she said, oh, Kenya said, oh, I heard about your situation, heard about your situation. She said, yeah. She said, how did you find out about all the stuff all the stuff that Simon was doing? She said it was a funny things going on at first. She said one time we was going to the airport or coming from the airport, and we were on the plane, and all these police officers came on the plane, and Simon told me wasn't that wrong. And then another time we was going somewhere, and people were questioning Simon and stuff like that. She said, but I really didn't find out till one of his ex-wives said something. Said, ex-wives, how many wives do you got? She said, well, the other one who came out, she was the fourth wife. He said, well, which one of you? I'm Simon's fifth wife. And then Kenya said, fifth wife? And she said, yeah. And she said, you ain't see any red flags. She said, like I said, it was some funny stuff going on and stuff too like that. And so, and so she said, why did you going through that Portia? She said, I'm going through that too. But right before that, Portia had said in a confessional that over the years, her and Kenya had not been friends over years, but now that they have children, things have changed. And Portia talking about you can't keep a grudge for all that long time. 10 years is a long time to keep a grudge. I said, her child, some people keep a grudge all their life. Some people keep a grudge 10, 15, 20 years and stuff like that. It depends on the person. But anyway, that was a cute little scene between Kenya and Portia. And then it switched to the next scene, and the next scene was was Angela Oakley in her kitchen talking to her daughter about the event while Charles was in the kitchen cooking and grilling some hamburgers or something. And then she said, well, how did you like the event? She said the event was all right. and until a mess happened. She said, what had mess happened? She said, some mess happened between some of the women and stuff like that. She said, but mom, you still had a good time. She said, yeah. And then in her confession, Angela Oakley said that she got, I think she said she got 4 children. And she said she got her daughter Ari, and then she got two kids from Charles Oakley, a son named David. I can't remember the other little small girl name. And then she said Charles got another son, which is Charles Jr., but that's not that. She's not Charles Jr.'s mama. And so people started bringing up online on Twitter and stuff the clips that Wendy Williams had said years ago that she admitted Charles Oakley and his wife, and Charles Oakley's wife was telling her that she need to stick on with Kevin because you can get over, your husband cheating on you and having a baby. And Wendy Williams told her, no, I ain't doing that. But anyway, that's how she was introducing her family and stuff to everybody on the show. And then it switched to the next scene, and the next scene was Kelly with her project manager, and they were looking over this new property that she was trying to do for her Nana's Chicken and Waffle. And she said in her confessional she started her Nana's Chicken and Waffle restaurant in 2016, and then she said she had two chicken and waffle restaurants, but she said her husband stole $500,000. Well, ex-husband stole $500,000 from her and took the second business in the divorce. And she said she had a messy divorce, and she said she stuck in with that marriage, even though that man was abusing her and beating on her and stuff like that. She said she finally just had to go and get a divorce. So she said at first, when she first got on the show, was scheduled to be on the show audition, she was married. By the time the show started filming, she was going through a divorce. And so, she was telling that project manager, she was saying, I want this place to be up and running within a year. He said, within a year? He said, we got a whole lot of stuff we got to do. He said, we got to get permits for the building, got to check stuff out and this stuff. He said, it look all right here, but got to be some redo building. He said, I don't think we're going to be able to do this within a year's time on your schedule. But we really got to get down to business. He said, but like I said, we still got some other stuff we got to do. And then it switched to the next scene, and the next scene was Britt Eddie. And Britt Eddie was in her kitchen talking to her husband too, and she was telling him that since she said in a confessional that her and her husband met in 2020 during the pandemic. I said, well, a whole lot of people got together during the pandemic and broke up now. And so she said they went on a couple of dates, and then they had a wedding ceremony in Las Vegas. And then she said they really didn't get a chance to go on a honeymoon because she had started her insurance business, and she was saying her husband didn't help her start her insurance business. She started her insurance business just on her own with stuff, and people were wondering how she was getting that money and stuff. And then she was talking about back in the day she used to be a video vixen, be in the movies doing video vixen stuff. And she was a video vixen when she was a teenager. I was a teenager. I said, how old was she? And a lot of people saying that you can't be a video vixen unless you're 18 plus. I said, well, I don't know. I don't know how old she was. Maybe she lied on. Maybe she lied when she got doing them. Maybe she lied when she wanted to do the music videos and be a video vixen in people music videos. Maybe she lied and said she was older than she is. I don't know. But then she told her husband that she might have to start cut back on spending. He was saying, yeah, she said, because we need to save up to get the house that we really want, the house that we really want. And then plus, I want a small wedding ceremony because she told me they finna renew their vows, have another wedding ceremony because to her, that wasn't really a ceremony she wanted when she married him in Las Vegas in 2020. And so she was saying, well, yeah, we gotta save money so we can get a bigger house, so we can have a baby. He said alleged baby. She said no, I don't have. We can have a baby. She said my husband Mike, he got a kid from another woman, a daughter, but we don't have no kids together. And she was saying, Mike, if I decide to have a baby, or we decide to have a baby, my mom gonna have to come live with us. My mom gonna have to live with us. He said your mom already living with us and stuff like that. She said, well, my mom gonna need her own room. He said, her own room. He said she can sleep she can sleep where she at right now downstairs. And she said, well, you don't want my mama to have a room next to us. He said, no, no, not next to us, not next to us. And she said, well, like I said, and then switch to the next scene. Oh, let me get some water right quick. Okay, I'm back. Let's switch to the next song. Switch to the next scene where Shamia was coming to talk to her surrogate, and she brought her some flowers, and she said that she kind of felt guilty because she was saying that she was using the same surrogate that Candy had used for Blaze and Ace, and she was saying after her surrogate Shamina got pregnant, shortly after that she found out that she had cancer, and so Shamina said that she tried to have kids her own, but she had a epidemic pregnancy, and I guess she kind of lost that baby. And she was saying, even though Shiloh have some uh, some problems and some issues and stuff, she still love Shiloh, her baby, and she was saying that it's been very difficult for black women to have babies and stuff like that. And she said she got the surrogate through Dr. Jackie's surrogate thing, and she had told her that she kind of felt that's why she brought the flowers because she kind of felt guilty because was having she was doing a surrogacy for her to have a baby, and while she was trying to deal with having cancer and having a baby at the same time, and so the surrogate, Sharina told her, she's grateful that she was concerned about her unhappy, but don't be concerned about that. And she told her that she know a nice girl that she could recommend her for to have another baby because Shamia said even though she got two kids, her husband wanted her to have another baby. And I was saying these men need to stop trying to force these women to have all these kids and stuff like that. Two kids is enough and stuff like that. But like that's why she said she was having problems trying to do it on her own, so she's trying to go through surrogate and IVF and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, after that part, it switched to the next scene, and the next scene was Angela Oakley going to Kale's house, and Angela opened and Kale's a friend. She opened the door and she said, "Oh yeah, how you doing?" She said, "Yeah, I'm doing all right. How you doing?" She said, "I'm doing all right too." She said, "What do you think about what happened at the party?" And then the doorbell rang again, and it was a Brit Edie, and all three of them got together. And she was saying, "Yeah, that was something at the party." That was Kelly was saying. She said, "There was a whole lot of stuff going on." She said, "Yeah, there was a whole lot of stuff going on. There was a whole lot of stuff going on." She said, "Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on. The stuff with Porsha and Drew, and then the other stuff, and then the stuff with Shamia and stuff like that." And she said, "Yeah, that's going on." And then Brady gonna say, "Yeah." Even Kenya was acting some kind of way and stuff like that, acting some kind of way toward me or about me, and about my ring, talking about my ring, and talking about talking about my ring, and asking me was I married or was I engaged. I told her I was sitting that ring over there, and they were saying yeah, and she was saying yeah, and she was saying yeah. I was wondering why Shamia was questioning Drew about Dennis. That wasn't none of her business. That's what Angela Oakley was saying. She said, I was worried about that too. She said, yeah. And she said, yeah. And then Britt jumped in and said, yeah, can you doing that acting toward me? I got stuff for, I know how to handle people like Kenya. And then next thing you know, it switched to the next scene. And the next scene was Drew and Angela at the gym, and Drew was saying she trying to get back in shape and get back in shape and stuff like that because she gonna put out an album and she gotta be concert ready. She got went to the gym and she had a trainer, and then Angela showed up because she told the trainer she had another person coming up. So Angela showed up. And he said, y'all ready to work out? Y'all ready to work out? Next thing you know, Shamia came in there too. And they was all working out. And he said, come on, dude, come on, Drew, you can do it, you can do it. And he told Shamia, you already got it, you already got it. So Shamia was exercising done. He said, well, I'm gonna go and let y'all take a break. And we will take a break and I'll be right back. And she said, yeah, how everything was going, and I said, yeah, you say everything's going all right and stuff like that. And so Drew said, well, I didn't like the way Porsha was coming at me, and Porsha was talking about that I didn't tell her about Dennis. When I did tell her about Dennis, me and Dennis ain't dating and stuff like that. And then Shamia said, well, Porsha, you was wrong for trying to do the photo shoot, and you should have called Drew instead of texting. She said, but that was still a form of communication by me texting her. She should have answered me. She should have answered my text. And then Angela chimed in and said, "Yeah, you sure was taking up a portion over Drew and stuff." And I didn't like that. And why was you doing that? And she was saying, "Well, Portia is my friend. Portia is my friend." She said, "But yeah, me and Portia ain't had no problems at first until this." I said, "I didn't think it was gonna be a problem for me working with Dennis." And then Drew said in her confession, yes, a whole lot of people talking about I should have got big name producers stuff. Why was I working with Dennis? And she told Angela, no, she told Angela Oakley, she said, yeah, I did back in the day. I did work with big time producers, real big time producers. But back then my career wasn't popping up like I wanted to. I said, you sure was right, Drew, because they all them producers they got you for a little while, and then they drop you, and next thing I know, you was on the game and all other kind of shows, so you had to switch it up, go to acting. So you was right about that. And then next thing you know, the guy said, I'll see y'all. The trainer said, I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'll see y'all tomorrow. You say, yeah, yeah, you probably see me again. And so you'll see me again. Shamia said, you won't see me again. She got all mad. And then switch to the last scene. And the last thing was Portia and Dennis at the playground auditorium with Pilar. And so she came down there. She was sliding on the slide with Pilar and stuff like that. And she came sliding down. And then when Dennis walked in, Pilar said, "Daddy, Daddy," and he came over there, and then she said, "Go over there and play with this. Go and play with this." And then Portia said, "Dennis, you should have, you and Drew working together and stuff like that." He said, well, yeah, what's the problem with me and Drew working together? He said, he said, Portia, looking at Portia, you think I'm smashing Drew? You see, I told you I'm not smashing Drew. I told Rap the same thing when he found out we was working together. What's the problem with us working together? Well, see, and then you on my platform, and then you bringing her on my platform, and y'all filming together on my platform. He said, "Well, Drew on this platform too. You mean to tell me Drew can't get on this platform and you can't get on this platform and promote her music and promote her projects? Well, I'm just saying this is my platform." This ran in the back, started crying and talking to the bitches, talking about that she was real mad about that because Drew filming with Dennis trying to film with Dennis behind her back. And then the next thing, she doing a photo shoot. She trying to do a photo shoot with Dennis, trying to do a photo shoot with her. And then she working with Dennis, working on a record and stuff. And she going through a whole lot. And she ain't got time to be doing it. She ain't got time to be doing that. And then Portia said, "Come on, let's go, let's go." And they got ready to go. And they got in the car. She said, "See, Dennis, I told you that we supposed to be co-parenting with Pilar, and you ain't supposed to be doing it." He said, "You can't tell me what to do. This is my own business." I watch you marry all these dudes, all these dozen dudes and stuff, and you throw me to the side and stuff so I can do whatever I want to do. He said, "No, you can't. No, you can't. Because you keep on doing that, this gonna affect me and your child. Me and your child." He said, "What you mean? We can still co-parent me working with you." He said, "Don't you know we're gonna hawk my mama?" He said, "I don't care if you're gonna hawk my mama." Like I said, and then the show went out. Portia just mad because she wanted to have that fancy lifestyle, flashy, fancy lifestyle. Like she had a big old pretty house with Simon. Simon was one of them Jamaican scammers. He was scamming old folks out their money. He came over here legally, had 5 or 6 businesses that he had, bringing money over from Jamaica to come over here. And then he was in some kind of bait and switch card thing. He was in a whole lot of stuff. And so that's why ICE got him now. But anyway, that's all I have for this video. This is A. Wesley. That ain't even tells it like a TI is. I am out.